In an interesting main event coming up this weekend, we have Drago, Alexander Volkov in another main event, taking on Bigi Boy, Jairzinho Rozenstruik in another main event. And for both of these guys, sketchy results as of late. I mean, for Rozenstruik, comes into the UFC and he's off like a freight train. He's looking amazing. He's like Anthony Hamilton way back when, or for those of you who don't know Anthony Hamilton, like Alan Jackson at one point, I guess.
Which was a decent locomotive. What a good song.
Good tune. But for Rozenstruik in the 5-on-in, a loss to Francis Ngannou, a win over JDS, a loss to Cyril Gane, a win over Augusto Sakai, and a loss last time out to Razor Blades. And for Volkov, win over Walt Harris, win over Overeem, lost to Cyril Gane, win over Tybura, and then a loss to Tom Aspinall. And I mention this because, yes, Rozenstruik, 2-3 in his last 5. Volkov, 3-2 in his last 5. But these two guys in their last 5 fights have shown like night and day differences for better or for worse. And even in some of those wins, they've shown some bad spots.
For Rozenstruik, it's so strange because every time he has success at the UFC level, it's him moving forward, throwing in combination. And I can give you many examples. Junior Albini, his first UFC victim, it gets taken down over and over again. The first round has no success whatsoever. And then the second round starts, blitzes forward, hits him with a head kick, fight's over. Everybody's excited about our boy Bigi Boy. Next time out, Alan Crowder knocks him out the first punch he throws. Andrei Arlovsky knocks him out the first punch he throws. Alistair Overeem has no success whatsoever, but what's the common theme of Jairzinho's career? What happened with 10 seconds left? Decided to move forward and throw in combination. One of those punches lands, Alistair goes down. It's just when you watch Rozenstruik, he's one of the more frustrating fighters to watch because it is so apparent what his strengths are and how he could most easily employ them. I would go back to the Augusto Sakai fight. I've had a lot of people ask me, what do you think about the height difference between Alexander Volkov and Jairzinho, and do you think it's going to play a factor? I honestly don't, and this is why. Augusto Sakai physically is kind of similar to Alexander Volkov. They're not that separate height-wise. I think Sakai comes in at 6'5", Volkov 6'7", but they are very, very close.
Rozenstruik is the shortest 6'2" you've ever seen. The guy's 6 feet tall.
Exactly. But the way Rozenstruik does throw punches is in this very exaggerated looping fashion, and it does help him hit those taller guys at this weight class. So, although Volkov's height normally is a big strength for him, I do think just the style of Rozenstruik is going to help him get past that. Because on the outside, he's going to have no success anyways because of how big Volkov is. And Jairzinho's whole game plan is to get on the inside. So, I actually think this is one of those kind of double-edged sword reaches of Volkov to where, yeah, it's going to help him early on in this fight, but if Rozenstruik can do what Tom Aspinall did, just get on the inside of him, Volkov has not shown the ability to fight guys off of him, to really use his mobility, because he's just very big, but he doesn't use his frame all that well. It's like he's set in his positions. It's not like he's learning as the fight goes on.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. I know the UFC put the video out there of Volkov finishing Fabricio Verdum. That's their big push for this weekend. They could have gone with any other fight.
I like the Overeem one.
They could have gone with the Walt Harris one, too. I do like the Overeem one as well. But it's weird to see the peaks and valleys of Volkov's career because not that long ago, Bellator 2015, losing to Tony Johnson.
That was 7 years ago,
losing
Craig.
to Czech Congo, but that was off a big win streak. Then he goes on another win streak, ends up in the UFC, beats Struve, beats Verdum, and it's like, wow, we're off to the races. He's beating Derek Lewis until the final bell. And there Derek Lewis beats him. He beats Greg Hardy, and then he loses to Curtis Blades and he gets taken out a bunch. And then he beats Walt Harris and Overeem. And the reason why I talk about those 2 wins, because that looked like another new Volkov. He was thick boy Volkov. He gained weight. He looked big. He was confident. He had a new back piece. Everything was different. And then he fought Cyril Gane, and Gane was able to take some of those big punches. He was able to get in those in-between positions and beat Volkov in the spots where he gets uncomfortable. Then Volkov goes out and fights Marcin Tybura, and numbers on a page you might go, hey, that's a good win for Volkov. No, it wasn't.
Very hesitant performance from him.
It wasn't the best Volkov we've ever seen. It's a W on a record, but it's not a big Volkov win.
Volkov's very odd because he likes to go for those kind of like a check knee up the middle. It's something Cowboy Cerrone used a lot in the early parts of his career, but it got Volkov caught against Derek Lewis. That's what he was going for as Lewis threw that overhand, which made him a lot more easier to get hit from Derek Lewis. It's just a strange almost glitch in his kind of programming, if you will, that he hasn't been able to fix, because he still goes for those knees at the middle, and Tabora was able to throw some looping shots and hit him. The difference is Marcin Tabora does not have the punching power of a guy like Jairzinho Rozenstruik or someone even like Tom Aspinall. So I'm very curious to see, is Volkov going to be able to find a way to deal with guys when they do get on the inside? Because wrestling used to be the thing that gave him issues. It was guys would get on the inside, take him down, Volkov couldn't do anything. He was able to gain weight, and that did seem to help him defend some of those takedowns. But the problem was, it's almost like he focused so much on defending the takedowns that he never really came up for a solution to deal with strikers to get on the inside of him. And I do think that's going to be what Jairzinho's game plan is.
Yeah, I mean, for Rozenstruik, again, you look at the losses. I mean, Derek Lewis, you focus, on Volkov. That Derek Lewis fight, a lot of people remember that, and then they go, okay, Rozenstruik beat over him at the 11th hour, so hey, that's how it's going to happen. But for Rozenstruik in the UFC, again, Francis Ngannou throws windmills at him, knocks him out. Ciryl Gane grinds him up against the cage.
That was an awful fight.
It wasn't a great fight, and Curtis Blaydes was the last matchup.
Can I be honest, though? I didn't think Jairzinho looked that bad against Curtis Blaydes. Like, he almost knocked him out with a flying knee in the third round of that fight. Like, he at least showed that he's still dangerous in the third round of a fight that he's not winning. And yes, that doesn't count for a win. It's a moral victory at that. But it at least proves that Jairzinho still can be dangerous, no matter what the outcome of the fight is. Like, if the Alistair Overeem fight didn't prove that to you, I do feel like the Curtis Blaydes fight helped reinforce that a little bit. Because, yes, it's a loss, but Jairzinho did a pretty good job at defending the takedowns of Curtis Blaydes. It's not like he spent the majority of the fight on his back. The fight was just sort of boring and them looking at each other in the mirror. So, I think the best version of Jairzinho, who's moving forward, throwing in combination, could probably knock out Alexander Volkov in like the first, maybe even the second round. It's just, like you said, both of these guys are kind of those peaks and valley type of fighters, so it really depends what version of both guys we're going to get this weekend.
And Tom Aspinall's a great fighter. Extenuating circumstances about Volkov getting to that fight aside, like, Volkov looked really flat in that fight. Straight up, as soon as it started, he looked like a shell of a man. So, threw this out there in the YouTube community tab. With the dust settled, now we can get to some more exciting stuff. The graphics are updated, of course. You've seen that throughout the tenure of this video, but you folks voted for it. We're going for a different look. And actually, if nobody noticed, the whole thing's different. Everything about this is different. But we threw it on over there to get an idea of what you folks are thinking. Bill is saying, I see this one being a lot like Louis Volkov, where Volkov is winning until he isn't. Acai Fueled saying either Jairzinho by knockout or Volkov by decision. Jairzinho scorecards equal no action. We also have Carnage, not sure. Really, both have looked very underwhelming recently. I say Volkov due to his reach and volume. I feel like I should be more excited for the fight than I am. Bundle of Humble, I think Volkov, his best days are behind him. Rozenstruik made some improvements and is still hungry. And Chad, the UFC dad, saying, just going to keep on riding these underdogs. Jairzinho all the way. Matt, the odds for this fight, to give you an idea, Volkov minus 160 at open, minus 155 now. Rozenstruik open plus 140, plus 130 or thereabouts. Your thoughts on the pick for this fight?
I like the underdog Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Again, I took a lot from the Marcin Tabora fight against Alexander Volkov because Tabora went into that fighting like a striker, not fighting like a wrestler like he normally does. And he was able to have fairly good levels of success when he was able to get on the inside of Volkov's reach. And maybe Volkov fought that fight thinking, hey, I can let him get on the inside because he's not as dangerous. I just think that if Rozenstruik is able to crash that distance and even hit him with one big shot over the top, I think Rozenstruik has that kind of power to where he could put Volkov out.
I agree, and Volkov's one of those guys. I agree with your assessment. Volkov's one of those guys, we're throwing a knee, we're going to put a hand up there. There's so much room to get. Like, we talk about Justin Gaethje. Just walking forward, hands up here, you either land on his cheeks or you hit his forearms, and that's what you get. But Volkov's defenses are weird. Like, if he was a boxer, like, would he go mummy stance?
Like, Philly Shell is good. Floyd Mayweather fought his whole life doing this, and, like, Dustin Poirier does it too. You'll see him do that a lot. Those are two extremely good boxers, though. I don't know if you know this. And Volkov, you're right. It's almost like he has that lean back problem. Because, again, I'm going to hammer this home until someone corrects me and tells me I'm wrong. I think tall people, just in general, do something wrong in sparring by being tall. I think when you're used to being the taller person in the training room, you can get used to just being lazy, leaning back. Luke Rockhold had a whole career of doing this. And I do think Volkov does kind of play into my theory a little bit. And that's why I think Rozenstruik can chin him.
And I can't wait to see how the weight cut goes for Paulo Costa in training for that fight with Paddy Pimblett to learn how to make 185. That does excite me quite a bit. I do have Alexander Volkov in this fight for the well-rounded attributes, but again, if Volkov just pushes the pace, which I've seen him do in 34 fights, like
it's been a while. Though, is the problem.
I know it has the last two, and the weirdest part about it is just those last two fights for Volkov. Tybura, not a great win. Is he going to wrestle me? But he doesn't. He strikes, so it was really weird. And his last time out against Tom Aspinall, you're going into his, home turf in England. Is he going to strike? Is he going to try and grapple me? And Volkov, like, it was just that riff from,
You really like this.
And it's just Rolling Stones, start me up, and he never started up. So I do expect him to come out, another big opportunity at a main event, to push a pace, to fight a Drago fight, to get a win. But if you like that underdog spot in Jairzinho Rozenstruik, like I said, I agree with your assessment of that.
It's just for Volkov, he hasn't been the thing that he was for a little while now. So I do find it hard to think that he's going to go back in time to find the form that he did find when he fought guys like Fabricio Verdum or even Alistair Overeem when they had fought. I do think maybe past the hills a little bit too aggressive. I just do think he's on the other side of his prime at this point, and that's why I like Rozenstruik.
Matt going with Suriname's own Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I have Alexander Volkov. We have question mark kicks. It's 2 hours before the prelims here on the channel. We switched up the graphics for this show. Question mark kicks will remain unchanged, so you don't have to worry about that. But we're having a lot of fun. I mean, we're trying to get out there. YouTube community tab, Twitter at Fight Night Picks. You can find us there as well on Instagram. Matt, I had a cold all weekend. I was in bed. I was sick. I came out Wednesday night. I took some cold medication. I'm amped. I'm here. I'm sure people will get on me for the way my voice sounds, but hopefully they enjoyed the show. I poured my heart and soul into this one.
14 fun fights on this card. It should be a good one. Like you had said, we have, 5 fighters making their UFC debut, 4 ranked fighters, so should be a really fun card. Hopefully you guys check in 2 question mark kicks 2 hours before the card starts, and have a great week, guys.
So thanks so much for tuning in. It really does mean a lot. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say,
let's get into it.